Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another video. I sincerely hope that you are all doing well. I hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening. Wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be, I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. Do not forget to follow me on social media. There are links in the description below. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. There is a major shift. Listen, and I'm sure you understand. I know you understand English, and you've probably seen at least 50 of my videos. But you need to really get it into your noggin that the world is changing at an accelerated pace. I met a couple of friends yesterday. We were talking, discussing the market as we normally do. I think we pretend to ourselves that we're not going to talk about money. It takes no more than 15 minutes max. And someone goes, did you see this happen? Did you see this happen? Did you see this coin hit this price? And it kind of tumbles from there. The friend who sat closest to me, we started talking as the other ones were talking. And I was like, did you see all this stuff that's happening with this bill and that bill passing and this so-and-so? He's also into real estate as like an investment. He's not heavily into it. He prefers more so crypto and stocks, but he's looking to get into more real estate as like a stable form of income that he can essentially then use. I'll tell you the secret. Most people who are getting into real estate or have bought real estate are using the proceeds and profit from their rent, and then they're rolling that over into crypto. It's kind of like the thing that people are doing. And he was saying that he's been looking into like 3 or 4 different properties. So we were talking about what to do, and he was like, I don't want to get rid of any of my crypto. And I was like, really? He said, I don't want to get rid of any of it. We were talking about why, and it has to do, if you missed, this was a topic of conversation a year ago. It has to do with the idea of literally staking it. And this is something, once again, I know that you understand what staking is, but you don't understand how big staking is actually going to be. The idea of just holding an asset, Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Cardano, and being able to stake it and make a return. Like I said, we talked about this last year. He was saying having to find a property, having to get it inspected, having to go through the entire closing process, having to find a renter. We use rental companies, but he was having to find a company who can actually do it, hoping that the tenant actually pays, that they don't destroy anything. He's like, you don't have to go through any of that if you just hold on to your crypto. The world is, how do I say this? Everything is kind of moving in the direction that I thought it was going to move in, but I assumed that we were going to have a lot more people, a lot more interest. He also was talking about the Google Trends. If you didn't see, we saw metrics in another recent video. The metrics were showing how many new. So it said, I think 140,000. I think that was the number. 140,000 Bitcoin had been purchased by brand new wallets over the course of a couple of days. Was it 3 days or something like that? So there's a bunch of new people getting into the market. But another metric for it is by looking at Google Trends. And you can literally see if people are Googling the word Bitcoin. Should I buy Bitcoin? Is Bitcoin a good investment? There's certain keywords that kind of trigger the search, if you will. And those are all flat. Not peaking, not slowly moving up, not up by 7%. They're flat, indicating that retail is just not here at all. It's literally just us and really big money. The other crazy part is that these people, and I can even cluster retail crypto investors who are in the market currently, they're buying all the coins. So he was asking, he was like, what is going to happen over the next month or two? He's expecting continued brand new highs for prices as we get all these bills passed, as we get this from the SEC, as these ETFs launch, etc. He's like, he said, what's going to happen in a month or two? He said, what happens if Bitcoin goes to 230,000? XRP is at $7 or $8. Ethereum's at $6,000, $7,000. And he was like, retail will then have no choice but to rush into the market. But when retail rushes in, it's literally an additional extra hundreds of millions of people from around the world. That then pushes prices even higher. So it's this kind of like, it's the word's not conundrum. We're seeing it. We are seeing history right now being made. We're seeing governments passing laws to make sure that crypto has rules and regulations. We have tons of banks announcing that they're going to be building their stable coins on top of two different chains. The chains we know thus far are the XRP chain and Ethereum. Like really, like a lot of different banks. You can even Google it. This was news months ago. But now it's like official. Like now it's all legal. Now we're seeing all these movements. Now we're seeing the way, like it's quite fascinating. So as you might have potentially gathered and or imagined, this was, of course, very, very, very logically, very, very, very popular news. We had something similar to this theme. It's been, I think, the last 2 days because it is monumentally insane news. And it's also, the term's not double-edged, but it's more of a like, which path do you choose when it comes to all of this? You'll understand what I'm talking about. Chong Pang Tao. Chong Pang Tao is the former CEO of Binance, but he's always heavily still in the cryptocurrency space. He posts all the time on Twitter. He's very, very, very active still within the community. Chong Pang Tao says that owning just 0.1 Bitcoin, owning a tenth of a Bitcoin could surpass U.S. home ownership in value. Let me tell you what that means first. The idea has been for a while, and it's been coming up more in topic and conversation as of late. One of the original ideas of Bitcoin ownership years ago was always that Bitcoin was going to $1 million. When you hear $1 million Bitcoin, it's not anything new. It's monumental, but it's nothing new. People have assumed for years it was going to go there. Bitcoin gets to $1 million and several $1 million per coin by people literally selling other assets and moving that money into Bitcoin instead. The entire idea would be, if Bitcoin goes to $1 million, we can logically assume based on time, supply pressure, etc., Bitcoin will get to $200,000, $300,000. The average price of and I air quote here, starter home is roughly around 300,000 US dollars. Remember the thing that I was telling you before when me and my friend were just talking about? That's the literal conversation. Remember, I've told you before, you don't understand how early you are. You're not really understanding how much money you currently have, because if you have to start pricing things in Bitcoin and things will make a lot more sense to you. In 2017, 2018, it was relatively difficult. But I remember on the channel, I started saying things like in Satoshis, like, okay, like 1 million Satoshis. So, and it starts to make a lot more sense when you realize just how rare Bitcoin is. The idea of owning a tenth of a Bitcoin is completely unobtainable for hundreds of millions and billions of people on the planet. Like, you need to get that through your head. If you have a tenth of a Bitcoin, it is impossible for billions of people to ever have more than you. And I know the number sounds staggering. You can't conceptualize that billions of people. If you have that 0.28 Bitcoin, you are literally set for life. When you are able to stake that, when Bitcoin goes to $1 million, you are holding $250,000 just in Bitcoin. If Bitcoin triples in price, You have 750,000 plus in Bitcoin that you are staking, getting passive income for. Are you understanding? That's one of the roads. The other one that we keep talking about that's constantly in the news, it says as the FHFA is exploring Bitcoin as a financial reserve for a mortgage in general within the United States. I don't know if you've seen this. I don't know if you've seen it floating around. My friend found an article, and once again, if you missed a couple of videos ago, I'm currently like on vacation. I'm doing stuff, but so like the video formats will be a little bit different. So this might have already passed. Do you understand what it means for hedge funds, for Vanguard, for all these banks to be able to accumulate crypto for retirement funds? That was something we had years ago. That was crazy. That literally means when you have a retirement fund, these people buy assets that they're expecting to appreciate over the course of the next 40 years. With a retirement fund, it needs to be something that is going to like do exceptionally well for the people who are in that fund. If this fund buys Bitcoin, this means they are expecting Bitcoin to go to tens of millions of dollars at some point in the future. When you hear that Bitcoin can be used in transactions, like there's also bills that they're trying to pass so that you can use, I think, several $100s worth of crypto in transactions without being taxed. That's insane. When you get to the point where you're talking about if you want to own a home, you can use Bitcoin as collateral, the US dollar is completely done for. Let's say you have a tenth of a Bitcoin, 0.28 Bitcoin, whatever number you want to throw out there. As Bitcoin's price keeps rising, you literally don't even have to put up as much Bitcoin as you would have done before. Your collateral can literally at some point be 0.011 Bitcoin. And that will suffice for you having a mortgage to buy a place that's going to give you money that the rent pays off your actual mortgage. I said the same thing when we heard about like in-kind redemptions. If you missed that one, the ETF issuers within the United States are trying to make sure that when you or anyone would cash out of a cryptocurrency ETF, you don't get US dollars back, you get the crypto. You literally, like, it's circumventing the entire usage of the US dollar, and we're seeing this in rapid succession. I always said I expected another decade for this to take place. No, it's all happening right now. That's the craziest part. We are living in a world where if you hold any portion of this finite asset, you are further ahead of essentially about 100 million, 200 million people. Does that number sound crazy? It shouldn't, it should because it's very dystopian. But the other part is that if you have 175 million people who can't afford $500 and you have a tenth of a Bitcoin, you are literally leagues ahead of these people. What happens if Michael Saylor and Cathie Wood and all their predictions come true? And by the time we get to 2032, 2033, Bitcoin is actually worth $10 million. And from that 0.1, you have a cool million just sitting there. You decide, okay, cool, I'm going to use a tenth of that to put down on a mortgage. It's literally something that you bought years ago that continues rising in value, that's currently being integrated into every single facet of the financial world that you literally are making. Oh, also, I forgot to mention, if you have that tenth of a Bitcoin staking, the money that you made from that staking, you can use to buy more Bitcoin. So you have even more for a mortgage, or you have even more Bitcoin after. The people who hold all the assets are the people who are going to make all the money, are the people who are going to make it, are the people who are going to be the richest in the future. Are you understanding that? Like, are you actually getting what I'm talking about? It says the proposed mortgage rule change may let crypto holders use Bitcoin as reserves, signaling a shift towards institutional acceptance of crypto. No, we've had that for a while already. They're desperate to accept crypto at this point. I think that's kind of the final frontier. If you can use it as a currency, if you can use it to like retire essentially, If banks are buying and using it, like literally using it, and then you can use it as collateral, this is the future. And I'm going to say this in the nicest way possible. At the time that we are right now, based on the thousands of videos that I've made for this channel and the other channel, you need to own crypto. And I say that unequivocally. If you do not own crypto financially, you're probably going to be in big trouble in the future. There's so much space and room for this market to grow. There's so much further that we have to go in price. You being in this market, take advantage of it. I've been telling you that for a couple of weeks now. Like I'm making sure to reiterate it. Understand how early you are. Understand how low prices still are. Until we get to $1 million Bitcoin, we haven't made it. Anything under a 15,000 Ethereum, we're still not there. $10, $15 XRP, that's still the very beginning for all this stuff that's going on. Banks are actively making sure that they're buying up all these coins. I need you to really understand. It says if owning a home in the US is the only dream you have, think again. Binance founder Chong Pang Tao believes that owning 1/10 of a Bitcoin might one day be more valuable than owning a home in the United States. He shared his bold opinion after a major announcement from US housing officials that could allow Bitcoin to be used as a financial reserve when applying for a mortgage. You understand it's game over for every other asset class, right? You know tons of people, because you can't take a bar of gold and take that to the bank and go, I want to buy a house. If Bitcoin becomes the thing that you can use, first of all, home ownership is going to skyrocket immediately. And it's going to be people who are holding crypto who are going to be getting these mortgages, like literally with the coins that they bought from years ago as collateral. Once again, that's one of the roads. The other side is literally just buying and holding and staking. It's making passive income forever. I keep reiterating it because you need to get what all of this actually means, what it entails, how rich people are going to be. It's not a joke. You've seen me write it before in my video titles. I don't write things willy-nilly. It's true. You need to really get it together. I've been in this market for so long, and I've seen so many people be like, well, yeah, it's not so-and-so. And even more so, just one little last fact. Another good friend who was in that conversation, we showed him on our phones the topics and things we were discussing. He has some stocks and stuff like that. This other friend, we showed him Bitcoin being used for a mortgage, Bitcoin being used for 401k. Banks are buying Bitcoin. This is happening with Bitcoin. And he went, oh, wow, that's kind of cool. It's still a little bit too risky for me. And I looked at one of my other friends and I said, okay. I shrugged my shoulders, and then, we continued on with what we were talking about. My friend sent me a message after he said we're so early. He didn't even get it. We showed this man in his face. We showed him the news. It's one thing. Listen, it's one thing for me to sit there and go, hopefully in 10 years, imagine Bitcoin being used for mortgages. Imagine Bitcoin being this. Can you imagine if we get one country buying Bitcoin? We showed him directly in front of his eyeballs all this stuff that's happening. And he went, oh, okay. Well, maybe. Okay, maybe. Isn't it's nuts. It almost drives me insane, and in some sort of capacity, but to each their own. I'm glad you're all in the market. I'm glad you're all here. I hope you've been paying attention, really. And I know a large amount of you have. I told you before, I got messages from you on Patreon and stuff like that, telling me about your new fortunes. Like literal golf clap for you. I'm very, very excited, and I hope that everyone else also gets it as well. because I know a lot of people, even in crypto, aren't paying attention. It's so weird. It's very, very odd. But no, the world is changing right in front of our faces. I cannot imagine what the world is going to be like in 5 years with crypto. If this is what we've gotten in 6 months, if this is what's happened since the advent of Bitcoin ETFs in 18 months, I can't imagine another 60 months from now. Think about it, 60 months. How different this space is going to be, how big Bitcoin's going to be. I assume realistically within a year, I give it a good year, Bitcoin will be in everything, everywhere. So we'll see. Yeah, I think that's going to do it for this video. Really, please grasp what's happening and grasp the market. Please, for the love of goodness. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.